It's a shame that I have to spend the time on the GrassRoots TruthCast and dedicate an episode to pedophiles, sex trafficking, and the abuse of our children that's being caused now through a new technology of online gaming and websites geared toward the salacious activity by the deep state in trying to ruin the culture and character of our children. We're going to meet Brent Dusing this morning. He's the CEO and founder of TruPlay. It's a subscription-based Christian gaming platform for kids 5 to 12 years of age. And he's reacting to reports that are now, in his eye, and publicly published throughout the nation that should be raising the ire and parental concerns that these platforms like Roblox and others that are out there that are nothing more than platforms manipulated by sexual perverts and predators intending to message wrongdoing to our children, our vulnerable children of age that are trying to find their way in this very precarious life we live in today. He's presenting guardrails and guidelines for online activity for and entertainment for our children. Folks, meet Brent Dusing. Brent is here today. Welcome aboard, Brent.
Thanks, Gene. Good to be with you.
And I have so much to ask you. You've come up with a company called TruPlay. It's a gaming platform literally intended to allow children to have decent cultural, Christian-based, ethical play activity online so that they can spend their time off of this device and get back to school. We've got plenty to talk about with Brent Dusing right after this message.
Hello, everyone. Please keep supporting Gene Valentino's Truth Podcast. We need our voice to get out there far and wide and help save our country.
Relationships matter because people buy people, and that's why I buy Eddie Zarin Insurance of the Zarin Insurance Agency in Pensacola, Florida. A family-owned business with over 50 years in the business, and they treat people the right way. From homeowners insurance to contractors insurance, condo insurance, commercial insurance, all the different coverages that are out there, and of course auto insurance, they've got you covered. They worry about you first. You're more than a policy number. You're a person who they're watching out for, not when the sun is shining, but after the hurricane has left. If you want real service with real savings, contact Eddie Zarin at the Eddie Zarin Insurance Agency. www.zarininsurance.com. Give them a call today. You'll be glad you did when you do. We're back here with Brent Dusing. He's owner and CEO, founder of TruPlay, a great gaming platform. Brent, I have a ton of questions to ask you. We met at a conservative think tank conference recently in Dana Point, California. Since then, we've had the chance to get to know each other. I regret there's not more platforms like yours out there helping parents steer the direction of their children. Explain.
Look, the reality is things have never been worse for children than they are today. Anxiety, suicide, depression rates are all-time highs for kids. The average male is exposed to pornography when he's 12. There's all types of reports of sexual predators, child pornography, people coming at children. Only 32% of children believe in God without a doubt, and only 2% of children have a biblical worldview. Now, it's all because kids are inundated with toxic content everywhere they turn, whether it's Roblox, which is where a lot of the source of the predators are coming from, whether it's TikTok, whether it's toxic content pushed on them by Disney, or various video games that are made. I'm not here to tell you that every movie or every TV show or every video game that a child has access to is toxic. They're not. Some are like bubblegum, but I am here to tell you there are a lot of things that are harmful for kids, and we're seeing their effects now in the data and in the lives and the stories of children that I know, that I'm sure you know, that if you're listening, I'm sure kids you know. And at TruPlay, we're doing something about it.
What's happening exactly? Why did you have to take on Google and a TikTok? What was your reaction to them?
So for some context, TruPlay is a platform. You can download it on your phone, on your tablet. It's a bunch of games. It's an fun entertainment experience where every piece of content, video games, digital comics, videos, contain God's truth. Every piece of content we make has God's truth in it. Now, the thing is, when you run a digital product, you have to advertise on social media platforms. That's the unfortunate truth of the economy today. People don't really watch TV much anymore. We can't really advertise effectively on the radio because it's a very visual product. So we advertise on social media platforms. That's how we grow. The three biggest that are the most effective are TikTok, Google, and the Meta platforms. Now, Meta hasn't given us any problems. I have no complaints about them. But Google and TikTok won't allow us to advertise. Now, you may be listening and thinking, wait a minute, you're a Christian kids gaming platform and you can't advertise on TikTok and Google. No, they explicitly block us. And to get a question out of your mind, it's not that we've said anything inflammatory. We're not out condemning people or saying we hate such and so. We're literally run ads as benign as fun Christian games for your kids to play. Safe, turn game time into God time. Safe, family-friendly content that parents can trust. Endless adventures. All those ads were banned. We had Kim Walker-Smith endorse us. That ad was banned. Riley Gaines endorse us. That ad was banned. Every ad that we've run, and Google's excuse is, their stated reason is, you can't push your religious beliefs on people in advertising. Here's the thing. They allow satanic content to advertise. They have run ads from Roblox with literally pentagrams drawn in blood with blood all over the floor and dismembered bodies, saying, letting millions of people see those ads with no restraint. They allow a game called Diablo, literally a game about Satan, to advertise. Satanism wants to be qualified as a religion. Well, if it's a religion, then they shouldn't be allowed to advertise on Google either. Google allows Buddhist content to advertise. Many Buddhist products, whether it's yoga, Buddhist meditation, or statues you can buy, they advertise without restraint. Transgender content, to me, that's the new religion of the day, is this idea that you can convert one sex into another, one gender into another. They allow transgender content for kids to be able to advertise. And so the issue is that Google doesn't actually have a problem with religion. It's that Google has a problem with Christianity and explicitly is discriminating actively against us. And it shows you that Google hates the things of God. TikTok, very similar story. TikTok actually sent us an email saying you can no longer advertise content that is dangerous or harmful to our users. And by the way, we're advertising, video games about kids who go on adventures and learn the value of the Bible, about King David and his, battle against Goliath, about the story of the Old Testament. So meanwhile, though, again, TikTok allows Roblox and Diablo to advertise, which are promoting satanic content. And again, transgender content for kids is allowed to be advertised. So it shows you the deeper agenda is actually dark and evil. And that's the decisions that people at Google and TikTok are making, that they actually hate the things of God.
Why do you think that's so? Why are they picking on you with such a meritorious agenda at TruPlay? It's not that it's just Christian based. It's fun and good entertainment for the kids as well. It's more than just spreading Christianity, which other religions have clearly been allowed to do on both TikTok and Google. I'm trying to come to some defense for Google and TikTok so we don't get this show banned from them either. So what would be the logic behind their treatment of you?
Well, it's what I'll tell you is that there are other Christian organizations who have also had problems. So it's not, first of all, I'll tell you, it's not just us, but I will tell you it is because we're Christian. Because again, and the reason is everybody's talking about AI and LLMs and, AI models. The model that Google uses to allow ads to run, right? It's not like somebody sits there and punches a button. They don't have enough people to do that. They run, billions, probably trillions of impressions, every day. What they have is machines that decide what's dangerous and harmful content. So what I want you to understand as a listener, those of you who are using Google Gemini, those of you who are using Google products, those of you who are watching what AI is doing to our society, I want you to understand that number one, Google is ahead in the AI race, the things that its model can achieve and its reach, right? Google controls television essentially with YouTube. It controls a lot of internet browsing, 40% of mobile phones, most of internet search. Google's ahead in the AI race right now. Google's AI model hates the things of God. It hates Christianity. If it didn't, it wouldn't block us and then allow Satanism and Buddhism and transgender content for kids to advertise, right? So very clearly, there's a dark and sinister agenda. Why is that true? Because honestly, there's some pretty wicked people in positions of power right now, right? And that's been well documented by a lot of people. I'm not the first person to say it. In fact, Jesus said that. He said, think about the temptation of Christ when he's out in the desert for 40 days and the devil says, listen, I'll give you all the kingdoms if you'll kneel to me. Jesus doesn't say you don't control those kingdoms. He just refuses to bow. Later on, Jesus goes on to call him the prince of this world. So there's a sense in which, and it's not everywhere, but there is a sense in which there really is evil that control these gates of power, and Google and TikTok have pretty clearly shown their hands.
You and I were at a conference that was focusing on that theme, the thought that this deep state initiative that's going on by the likes of George Soros and all his agents and proxies around the world have been orchestrally set into certain areas of the world, including the United States, with agents and proxies underway to cause harm not only to children but to other sectors of our society. And so if you're talking about a platform, what is unique about the TruPlay platform that stands you apart from the other platforms that would be good for parents to know about, to subscribe to?
Here's what's unique about TruPlay. It's one app with over 100 hours of content, over a dozen games, dozens of entertainment choices, videos, digital comics. We put out new content as well. And so every piece of content we make is made to be fun. It's made to be beautiful, but it also contains biblical truth. So our guarantee to you as a parent, our commitment to you, is if your child's going to invest their time, if you're going to invest your money in TruPlay, you can trust that the content that you're getting is based in God's truth. Some of our games are Bible stories, King David's battles and stained glass. Other games that you go to our website, and you'll see these characters that are animals wearing different animal costumes. They're these characters in the Rimverse. They live in a world where God is real and the Bible's true, but there's real evil that exists in their society. And they go on these big adventures and explore this mysterious forest and go out into space, and there's spaceship battles and there's monsters and there's sword fights. But there's also real hard issues that kids deal with. One of the kids is adopted. One of them, her parents are divorced. One of them is autistic. One of them is a very strong believer in Jesus, but is very headstrong and kind of leaps before she looks. So every single one of the children, one of them is the youngest and doesn't get taken seriously by anybody else. If you have more than one child, you'll empathize with that. Or maybe if you're listening, you were a youngest. The point is the characters deal with things that children deal with today, but in a healthy, constructive way that points them back to Christ, that points them back to the Bible, that points them back to the reality that God made them and loves them and that they're a child of God.
I'm always interested in talking about how these meritorious issues might relate to issues of subterfuge and subliminal activity. Your site was taken down recently, and this was quite suspicious on your part as to how and why it happened. Do you have a sense as to why your site came down and why you had to work so aggressively to getting it back up so quickly?
Well, yeah. So what happened was we had a vendor failure. So not to overcomplicate this, but when you run a tech product, you pay different people to do third parties to do different work for you. You have online servers that you use in the cloud as one example. We had a vendor who failed for us, which caused you could still download it, but there were certain things you couldn't use inside the product. We fixed that very quickly, but it actually took Apple 2 weeks to approve our fix. So that meant that quite a few people had problems using the service, and that was what that was about.
Friends, we're talking with Brent Dusing. He's the owner, founder of TruPlay, a subscription-based Christian gaming platform that I think you ought to subscribe to, but I'm going to incentivize it. Gene Valentino has the GrassRoots TruthCast mug, Brent. You let us know that you're interested in one of these mugs. We'll ship it to you. Become a subscriber of GrassRoots TruthCast, and while you're at it, check out this episode with Brent and we'll make sure you get to Brent directly if he hasn't received direct contact from you himself. So, Brent, give us your contact information. How do people find out about TruPlay?
Yeah, the best thing to do to connect with TruPlay is go to TruPlayGames.com. You can download, you can buy the product, you can go to the App Store or the Google Play Store, just look for TruPlay. We are still on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, so X, so you can follow us on any of those platforms. Look, we'd love for you to get involved. Check out the product. If you have grandkids, you can buy a gift for your grandchildren. We have merchandise you can sell, and if you want to get involved in a deeper way, there's ways on our website, if you look at contact and support, to get involved even further. We have a lot of exciting stuff we're doing right now. We're building new content. We're growing and getting in front of more people because we are able to grow, using Meta and using some other ads inside other people's games. And also, we're building new stuff. We have a lot of new stuff we're building.
You're allowing more people to get on, but what turned me on about this is that this is not open to strangers. It's a private network, is it not? I mean, no open chat rooms for strangers to get on with your kids.
That's right. No chat rooms, no ads, no hidden purchases. Yes, there's a subscription that you pay for, but that's very transparent. That's it. There's no extra charges. There's no ads you have to ask questions about. There's no strangers. There's no ability for people to interact with your child right now.
You let Brent know that you became a subscriber with TruPlay, and Brent will let me know, and we're sending you one of these mugs as well if you don't come to us directly. Brent Dusing, this is very exciting. I want to continue with this conversation because I think, we've got an Iran-Iraq war with Israel and the United States. We've got issues in Venezuela that just preceded it. Who knows what happens tomorrow in Cuba? We've got world issues going on, and this is one of those 3 Ds of Geno's 3 Ds: divert, deflect, and distract. While you're watching the news and all this national insanity going on to take out the Middle East by Iran, subversive groups that are already here in the United States, as Brent said, are perpetrating perverted, immoral activities against our children that need the protection necessary to understand the beauty of our constitutional republic. For platforms like his to survive, do you think Brent would be able to post this platform in other nations of the world? I think it's more likely he'd be shot than that be able to be done. And that's a regret, because we as a constitutional republic allow for freedom of expression and the liberties that go along with it, and also differences of opinion. But when your differences become so actionable as to take a site down because of a Christian-based, what happened to Sunday morning on the TV channels? There was Christian-based programming on all the time, and many other faiths as well. Well, the same thing has to now extend by legislative act to the social media platforms of the world, and it requires a Congress with intestinal fortitude. Jump in, Brett. A Congress with intestinal fortitude to step up and quash these impotent legislators that are pushing an extreme left Marxist socialistic agenda that is not consistent.
Here's what I would say to that. So, we just talked about all the discrimination that we've experienced by TikTok and Google. We need 2 things to happen. First, we need active legislation that these tech platforms can't discriminate against Christianity, because yes, it's affected TruPlay, and mostly though it's affected kids. But it's also affected
discriminate against any religious faith. It should be.
Well, yeah, but right now it's Christianity that's suffering. It's not anybody else.
They're in focus. You're right.
They're not preventing any other religious. They're not preventing the Satanists or the Buddhists. I have the receipts from advertising, and I'm pretty sure they're not preventing other major religions too. But they are preventing Christianity. Why? Because Jesus said they're going to hate you because they hate me. Because that's the real threat. The real threat is the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. So the first thing is, yes, it's affected us. Secondly, yes, it's affected other Christian groups because they've reached out to me. But the third thing is, it's really hurt children, right? Think about this, Gene. If school let out at 3 p.m. and a bunch of kids between the ages of 5 and 12 filed out of school and they go down a dirt road, they hit the road at the intersection. There's a 3-part split. The first split takes you to a fun after-school Christian program that kids actually enjoy. The second one takes them to a satanic temple. The third split takes them to a pornography store where you can watch porn, and also there's adults in there that assault the kids. Okay.
So the
There
kids
are
are
two
watching
men-
the porn, and then and the adults are nearby to catch them in a
let me
weak moment.
just to finish the metaphor. Imagine two men stand in the middle of the intersection, and they won't allow the kids go down path one, which is the fun after school program, and they force them to either go to the satanic temple or the porn store. If that happened in real life, if that happened to one school and 2 people did that to 30 children, those men would be restrained, arrested, beaten up, or maybe killed. That is happening at scale by the millions by TikTok and Google every single day. Google and TikTok are the villains. They're the culprits because they're the ones who control platforms. And they've told you, now they're showing their hand. If you're listening, they don't care about you. They don't care about your children. And they actually exist to exacerbate the destruction of Christianity and American and children, right? And the American family. Because interestingly, TikTok, when it was owned by communist China, wouldn't allow the vast majority of the garbage that goes on TikTok to be shown to their own citizens.
Yeah.
They know it's toxic, and they're happy to push it on us, but they don't want to have it happen to their own people. So what you need to do if you're listening is get involved. Write to your congressman, write to your senator and say, listen, we can't have these tech platforms discriminate against us. And furthermore, we need guardrails for AI, right? AI, it's because it's AI systems that are actively discriminating against us. These systems, if you look at the biggest companies, if you look at Dario Amodei, who runs Anthropic, he came out and said, there's a 25% chance that the AI models that we're building are going to eventually kill us. Elon Musk famously started OpenAI because he's had a heart-to-heart conversation with one of the founders of Google, walked away thinking this guy wants to destroy humanity by just building this AI machine, started OpenAI, then realized Sam Altman was kind of doing the same version of what he was afraid of, and so he built Grok. My point is, we're building these very systems that these leaders are telling us out in the public, there's a real chance they'll destroy us, and yet we don't have any congressional action to protect American citizens and protect the American values that make our country great.
How did a Harvard grad majoring in economics into venture capital activities, making your millions and all kinds of business-oriented stuff, end up with a company like TruPlay? Hold the thought. We want a full answer right after this. Relationships matter because people buy people, and that's why I buy Eddie Zarin Insurance of the Zarin Insurance Agency in Pensacola, Florida. A family-owned business with over 50 years in the business, and they treat people the right way. From homeowners insurance to contractors insurance, condo insurance, commercial insurance, all the different coverages that are out there, and of course auto insurance, they've got you covered. They worry about you first. You're more than a policy number. You're a person who they're watching out for, not when the sun is shining, but after the hurricane has left. If you want real service with real savings, contact Eddie Zarin at the Eddie Zarin Insurance Agency. www.zarininsurance.com. Give them a call today. You'll be glad you did when you do. Hi, friends. We're having a ball here with Brent Dusing on TruPlay. TruPlay, he's the founder of. And this is very interesting, Brent. I asked you a question before the break. How did a Harvard grad with an economics background, similar to my background, who's still in venture capital stuff when he's not doing this stuff on podcast, how did you end up doing such a meritorious thing in a Christian-based environment for these children? I got to tell you, go ahead, answer that question first.
The answer is it's been a journey. The answer is that, I didn't invent this phrase, but, life makes sense looking backwards. I was called to this, but, when I was a kid, when I got a Nintendo when I was 8 or 9 years old in my house, that very first Nintendo Entertainment System, it was a step function. It was night and day what video games could do vis-a-vis the old Ataris and the Commodore. The Nintendo was to video games what Star Wars was to movies. It was a completely different thing that changed the way the whole genre worked. So I grew up playing video games. I grew up playing board games, making board games. My friends would actually come over and play them and actually ask to play. So I knew that game design was something that I enjoyed. I didn't think that it was much of a career path, and graduated from Harvard in 2001, got a job at a venture firm, which was a good first job. It was a good job out of school. I had an idea to start a company that it was back in 2005. If you remember, before the iPhone, there was the Motorola Razr, there was the BlackBerry, and people were just starting to download things on their phones. They were just starting to play video games. So we realized wherever there was a screen, there was going to be an ad. And so we started a company called Cellfire that we eventually sold, that was coupons on cell phones at grocery stores. So if you've ever shopped at a Safeway or Kroger affiliate and they say use your cell phone to save money, that's Cellfire. And so that wound up being a nice outcome. God bless that. And then really felt called after that into making games, into reaching people with God's truth, into building excellent world-class products that really had the ability to change lives for the kingdom. That's the last thing Jesus said is, go forth and disciple all nations. And he talks a lot about sharing his truth and telling people about who he is. And, we'll all stand in front of God one day and be asked that by the Lord, what did you do with your talents? And, did you deny me, or did you speak about me? Did you stand up for me? And all of those things. He makes it very clear. And so this is something that I was called to, and as well as the rest of my team. It's not just me. We have a world-class team of fantastic people with all types of backgrounds and skills that are part of this too.
It's very interesting you brought that. I'm glad I asked the question, because you're at the same point in your life I think I'm at. You've done so much 9 to 5. You've been checking off the box every day on your to-do list. And you reach a point in the last, third of your life where you're wanting to do more for others and give back. And I look at my GrassRoots TruthCast, if I can be personal for a minute, I look at it in that light. Helping you help others is it's a lot of fun for me. It's a way of giving back after a journey of having tried to figure out where I was going. And, in that regard, I think of my grandchildren. I have 2 grandchildren, and they just love this game out there and these figures called action figures called Paw Patrol. And you'll forgive me, but I cannot help but notice these animated characters on the screen behind you. Why don't you pull out and explain what Paw Patrol would be analogous to this I'm looking at?
So let me kind of take you through our characters. So this is a banner in our office that shows off a little bit of detail about our characters and kind of who they are. So I'll take the viewers through that. So on the left is Lumi. So Lumi is just a little flame, and Lumi has 2 different games on the TruPlay platform. One is based on the children's song, This Little Light of Mine. So you fly through and you light up these little torches. Another one is a word game, Lumi's Words of Light, where you spell words and then eventually some of those words connect into scripture. Our main characters in the Rimverse are right here. And so there's a little girl who's a firefox who's in a butterfly costume. Her name is Isabella. She's about 6 years old. She is the youngest of the group. And she's the one who is not taken seriously at all, because they all think that, she's too young. She doesn't know what she's doing. If you have kids, or maybe you were that kid, you can probably identify with the travails of the youngest. She has a very deep Holy Spirit gifts, but also has a real independent streak and doesn't like the older kids bossing her around. And so she learns more about what her spiritual gifts are in her journey. Right next to her is Ava. Ava's a girl who is a fawn who wears a lynx that wears a fawn costume. So Ava, her parents are divorced. She's getting bullied at school, and her journey is about learning that you aren't who people say who you are. You're who God made you to be. So it doesn't matter if people say negative things. What matters is your identity in Christ. She's our only character who wears a costume of another animal that's less fierce than who she is, because she's learned through the difficulties she's been through in her life to kind of be silent, and she learns to stand up for herself and to speak back against the negativity. Our biggest male hero is next. This is Lucas. Lucas is a skunk. He wears a crocodile rocket suit that he built himself. It flies, it shoots laser beams. Lucas is autistic. And as you know, if you're listening, there's a lot of children today who are autistic. About a third of my close male friends are on the spectrum, so it's something that I connect with pretty deeply. Lucas, his brother died a year ago, and he doesn't get it. His mom's a Christian. He's not. So his mom says he's up there with God, and he says, great, I'll just go fly in a spaceship and go bring him back. But of course, his mom's like, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what we're talking about. But he takes off. And so he goes on a journey and learns more about the reality of God and who God is. Our biggest female star is Maple. Maple is a bunny rabbit who wears a tiger costume. She's a very strong believer in God. She's very earnest and sincere about her beliefs. Knows her Bible well. Her life verse is Joshua 1:6. God tells me to be strong and courageous. She's also, though, not always right, but never in doubt. She leaps before she looks and gets herself into a little bit of trouble as she rescues Oliver. Benjamin is our warrior. He's a hockey player. He's a Wolverine. He's a good athlete, but he's also a fierce protector. His job is to protect Isabella, who's the younger one. He's a very strong believer in God and learns more about the spiritual gifts. In fact, his game, Benjamin and the Armor of Logos, is really about Ephesians 6. And so it takes you through that in a very artful way. This is Noah. Noah is Lucas's best friend. Again, Lucas is the skunk who lost his brother. Noah's an outdoors guy. He's a kangaroo that wears a shark costume. In fact, our audience voted for him to be a kangaroo in a shark costume. And he likes to rock climb and paraglide and longboard and surf. And he's a very strong believer and is trying to kind of help Lucas cope with the loss and bring Lucas along in faith in God as he goes on this big journey. The last, but certainly not least, is Oliver. Oliver is a fox who's in a bear costume. Oliver is adopted. Oliver is a scientist. He's a botanist, and his parents were his biological parents, his fox parents, were very respected biblical scholars. His bear family adopted him, and now he reads a lot of science books, and he tries to understand the meaning of faith, and when we pray, who are we speaking to? So in his story, Maple rescues him very early on, and they're in this forest of words, and they learn the forest is getting darker and the forest is deteriorating because this evil queen has stolen all the Bibles out of their society. So they have to learn, they uncover this plot, and then they have to wind up overthrowing the queen and restoring truth back into their society. This is Eve. This is a very different take on Eve than probably what a lot of people have seen. But, the first thing about Eve is that she is the mother of all people. Secondly, I think Eve was gorgeous. Why? Well, Eve was God's gift to man. And so we drew Eve to be beautiful. And Eve is the first character in our game Stained Glass. In the game Stained Glass, you play through the story of the Bible, and you can see some elephants in the background over her shoulder and some birds flying at a waterfall. So in Stained Glass, you collect these stained glass pieces. The stained glass pieces form a stained glass window. The stained glass pieces come to life. And then a character from the Bible tells you their story, but from a first-person viewpoint. So Eve talks about what it was like to live in the garden, and then what it was like to look God in the eye. And he says, where are you? Not that God didn't know where she was physically, but where are you in your heart? Where have you gone? The separation from God caused by sin and the grief and the loss that she and Adam experienced having to leave the garden. And after that, in the stained glass game, then you go to Noah's story. Then you go to Sarah's version of the Abraham event and her point of view. Then we go on to Moses and so forth. So the stained glass is really an artful, fun way that we take you through the Old Testament.
I'm having trouble understanding why a platform like Google or TikTok would have a problem with this, notwithstanding what they're allowing elsewhere to be on their platform is amazing to me, and is why I had you on today. I think there's got to be some reformation in the way we allow access to free speech and expression to occur on these platforms. It's more than a radio station or TV station FCC license that one group of broadcasters are complying with. And then free reign, it's like the gold rush going west. There were no rules with the whole social media and platforms that are existing out there outside of the United States, which adds more difficulty for our legislative oversight and management. Where do you go in an environment with TruPlay where you have the world in such disarray? They can't govern their own nation, let alone worry about a social, a pure platform like this.
Well, look, Gene, the world's in disarray, and there are sadly a lot of innocent people suffering right now in the Middle East, and that is a shame. There's a lot of innocent, women and children who are being hurt. Look, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in America, they're starting to feel this already with things like inflation and gas prices. And so, look, unfortunately, we don't control that. But what we can do as Christians is try to make the best and biggest impact on the world as possible. I will say, I think as American Christians, we got lulled into a false sense of security that we were the home team, because we were the home team for a long time. We were the majority. We're clearly not anymore. That doesn't mean, though, that can't change again. There have been things like revivals. There have been people like Billy Graham, who, many of you listening or watching, I'm sure remember, caused really the biggest revival probably in the history of the United States. When he started, less than half of Americans went to church. And then by the time he was done, it was certainly a strong majority. And it wasn't just him. There were a lot of people who worked with him, a lot of other pastors. God, deserves all the credit. But at the end of the day, I'm saying this, if you're listening, look, there is hope. God is moving. There are people out there doing great work. There are great things to explore. And I'd also encourage those listening to get involved, to what is God calling you to? Too often, I think as Christians, we think that, well, let me just, go to church and I'll just work my job. And as long as I don't kill or steal, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. No, you can actively pray. You can get involved in what God's called you to. And it might involve taking risk. But kind of like you were talking about a few minutes ago, Gino, you kind of get to some point in your life where you say to yourself, what do I want my life to be about? Yes, as a parent, you've got to provide for your children, but at some level, what's the legacy you're leaving behind? And God's very clear about telling people, you're going to stand in front of God one day and account for the things you did with your life. And so that's something that all of us have to be thinking about.
You've touched on something and you've brought it forward for the world to see during a very precarious time. GrassRoots TruthCast and these episodes. So you'll be featured. 70% of our viewers are in the United States. The remaining 30% are worldwide. But of those 70% in the United States, I'd say 80% of them are in the Southeast United States, according to our numbers. And so you get a more conservative draw in general from the Southeast states of the United States, and a subscriber base that follows along as well. Although that's being disrupted in a positive sense for us by a reach that's going worldwide. So what would you say to the world right now if you'd like them to become part of your team?
Yeah, I'd say if you're listening and you want to be part of TruPlay, please, go to the App Store, download it, try it, subscribe to it. If for those listening, if you're tired of awful toxic content, woke agendas being pushed on your children when they're young, then come support something that's doing something different. Come support something that's standing with you, that was built for you by parents who are just like you. Most of the people who work here are Christian parents, and we care about children, and we care about the society that we live in. And we built something that not just teaches Christian values, but frankly, that is built to be enjoyed and is enjoyed by a lot of parents and children all over the country. Secondly, follow us on socials, get involved. There's further ways if you'd like to further support TruPlay. You can go on our website and do that on the support of the contact tabs. You can also write to your congressman, write to your senator, tell them we don't want AI systems, especially run by Google and TikTok, to block and censor Christians. We don't want AI machines to destroy the Christian worldview. We don't want AI machines to destroy the very fabric of the American society that's largely made this country work. So those are different ways.
Yeah. Do you think Congress has the will to impose those restrictions?
Here's what I'll say. I've met with some people, with some senators and congressmen who I was impressed by. I've met with some of their staff as well, many of whom are very, very strong Christians. And I was pleasantly surprised by that. I'll just tell you, if you're listening, that I've been pleasantly surprised by some of the people that I've met in Washington, D.C., and the strength of their faith. So look, I'm hopeful that Congress will take action. I'm hopeful that this is something that people can get behind. I frankly feel like this is a pretty unifying issue. You know, if you're American, you don't want to live in communist China. You don't want to live in a version of the Soviet Union. You don't want to live in the situation outlined in the Terminator movies where the machines come to kill you. Nobody wants that, right? So whether you have a Christian faith or you have any faith, or maybe if you're agnostic and you just feel like, hey, I kind of agree with values that human life should be respected and people should be able to speak, then that means you should be on our team. That means that you don't want AI to control and manipulate and silence and destroy. And that's what the stakes are right now, Gene.
Your cause is so pure and so good, but it's more than an app, isn't it? It's more of a movement of focusing on ethics and morals and Christian faith and good behavior and what I would call the disciplines of a good life, an entrepreneurial life. I don't see this as being a compromise to any free speech or any behavior. It certainly wouldn't be appreciated by socialistic Marxist governances where they need to control the messaging. In this case,
yeah, but almost nothing good is ever appreciated by them anyway. So that's not really a loss.
And their track record proves it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you have a failure rate internationally of exactly 100%, which is that's funny because you were talking about my experience at Harvard, and so I had a lot of professors who would espouse communism, and then when somebody raise their hand and say, "Yeah, but what about Russia when it failed and killed all these people, the Soviet Union? What about communist China?" And, Chairman Mao killed more people than Hitler or Stalin. Everybody realizes that. But the two biggest mass murderers of the 20th century were communists, Stalin and Mao. Well, what about, this country, what about how bad Cuba is versus when they, before the revolution? And essentially the response is, but they did it the wrong way. I mean, it's like, how many times do you get to have a failed state and kind of wave your hands and say, they just didn't do it the right way? It's very simple. Yeah. And Solzhenitsyn said this. He was the one who exposed all the evils going on in the Soviet Union first. When you remove God out of the equation, everything else eventually gets destroyed. And that's why we do what we do at TruPlay, right? If you take God out of entertainment, if you take God out of the conversation, if you take God out of social media, you wind up with anxiety, suicide, depression rates at all-time highs for kids. You wind up with children getting exposed to porn. You wind up with, satanic content and imagery and the destruction of human life and sanity, because when we turn away from God, that's the only road you can go down.
You bingo, you hit the nail on the head, which is where I hope you were going. And now in the last few minutes, Brent, give us where TruPlay is now and where you want it to be.
Yeah, so with TruPlay, we're building new stuff all the time. We're excited. We're growing. As I said, Meta's been fine for us. We're advertising on some other gaming platforms. We're building new content. We have a lot of cool stuff coming out. We have a new game coming out called TruPlay Trains, where you can do a train battle using some of our characters in kind of a fun, exciting way. We have other games coming out that we'll be building later. We have new video content, some things in the works we haven't announced yet that we're really, really excited about. We're going to continue to make great content that's fun, that's beautiful, that contains God's truth, and more entertainment options if you're listening, for you and your family.
I saw a message somewhere on one of your links indicating you're also looking to hire some good talent. Is that still true, or are you busy?
We are. Yeah. You've done your homework. Yes, we are. We do have some job openings. And so, yeah, if you think you're qualified, take a look at us take a look at our website or on LinkedIn and check it out.
Yeah, TruPlay, we're at the end of our time. Throw out your links again, Brent, so people can subscribe.
Go to TruPlayGames.com, TRUPLAY, drop the E, TruPlayGames.com. Go to our app store, go to the app store and just look for TruPlay, or go to our website, or go to the Google app, the Google Play Store. You can also follow us on socials on Meta, Instagram, and Twitter.
Okay, I want to pump this up now. So there's nothing greater than watching mom and dad sip a cup of coffee when the kids are enjoying their episode on TruPlay. I'll throw you a mug from the GrassRoots TruthCast podcast. I'll ship it out to you if I get your address. You can do it by coming directly to me and subscribing on GrassRootsTruthCast.com. Or as Brent just said, go to his site, let him know you're interested in the messaging section, and express your interest in TruPlay. This is a constitutional republic, and it means something unlike the rest of the world. It means from the bottom up, from the grassroots up. The governance is from we the people, not from the select few at the top trickling down. That's what makes us different from the rest of the world. And TruPlay's success in this environment is testimony to the fact that we must carry the torch to continue this decency that the world yearns for. Get on TruPlay and subscribe. Do it with them directly or come through me at GeneValentino.com, GrassRootsTruthCast.com. Brent, a final closing comment?
Yeah, look, great to be with you today. If you're listening, check out TruPlay. We built it. We're parents. We're Christians, just like you. We built it for you to stand alongside you because, like you, we're tired of evil encroaching upon our children. And we've seen so many parents and children with their lives changed and having fun. We hope it's something that you'll consider.
Thank you for joining me today, Brent. This has been a real great time. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining all of us on another episode of Gene Valentino's GrassRoots TruthCast. See you soon. Relationships matter because people buy people, and that's why I buy Eddie Zarin Insurance of the Zarin Insurance Agency in Pensacola, Florida. A family-owned business with over 50 years in the business, and they treat people the right way. From homeowners insurance to contractors insurance, condo insurance, commercial insurance, all the different coverages that are out there, and of course auto insurance, they've got you covered. They worry about you first. You're more than a policy number. You're a person who they're watching out for, not when the sun is shining, but after the hurricane has left. If you want real service with real savings, contact Eddie Zarin at the Eddie Zarin Insurance Agency. www.zarininsurance.com. Give them a call today. You'll be glad you did when you do.